Okay. Well, let's talk about this. So, I was watching the Rational National with David Dole, and he was talking about the big fight that's happening between Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Jimmy Dore online about whether there should be a fight for a vote for Medicare for all in Congress. And, well, we all know the answer to that. The answer to that is yes. Why? Because we are in the United States and we need a single payer healthcare system because it's cheaper, it's more effective, and, you know, it's cheaper and more effective. Well, geez, that's really the only reason to say yes to anything now, is there? Other than that, he was saying that he also agrees with that idea because, he's Canadian. And he was saying, well, there were other things that people have a problem with when it comes to this. Like, for instance, that the bill might not pass anyway because there were so many established Democrats that believe that, they don't want Medicare for all. They want you to have private insurance. Also, there are people out there who are saying it's just political theater, that they're just putting on a performance, that this vote really doesn't mean anything. It's just there to put establishment Democrats that don't agree with having a single-player system here in the United States on notice so that they'll be primaried later on in midterms and in general elections and whatnot. Okay, that's called politics. That's what you're supposed to do. And also, he says, well, the chances of it coming to a vote now have been diminished because now there's a vaccine that's being doled out to everybody, no pun intended. And, with that, they lose a little bit of their leverage because they're like, well, we're going to vaccinate everybody anyway. And here's my answer to that. Yeah, for David Dole in Canada and places like England and Australia and New Zealand and all those other wonderful places and like Denmark and Sweden, they have a vaccine. We're in the United States. We don't have a vaccine. The only thing we have in the United States is an opportunity to be possibly vaccinated for the right price. That's a totally different structure. What do you think's going to happen when they start rolling out this vaccine? Well, first they're going to be like, well, first we need to give it to our frontline workers working in the COVID pandemic, regions of our country, in the hospitals, in the emergency rooms, and make sure they don't get it while they're helping everybody else who won't wear a freaking mask. Then who gets it next? All of the executives, all of the CEOs, all the other millionaires and billionaires, and all the professional athletes and actors, because, we got to get Hollywood up and running. And when we got to get sports back on TV. And then after it goes through that whole hierarchy of who gets paid most and who has the better insurance, and all the politicians and Capitol Hill and everything, they all get vaccinated. Then what's left? It's the little guy, us working folk, and the homeless. Yeah, we have a lot of homeless in this country who aren't going to be covered in any case because they don't have the ability to have private insurance. Or if they did, it's probably the only thing they got because they don't have a freaking home. I think we all know how this is going to play out. So I predict, because I'm that kind of a cynic, that there will be scarcity to this vaccine. Somehow, when it comes around to getting to regular people, the vaccine will somehow run out. And they'll have to start a new production of vaccine. And that means they'll have to work on a new deal to make sure that the vaccine is able to get to regular people like you and me. Once again. And they'll be like, oh, we need to negotiate certain prices down. And it'll probably, be really cheap if you live in a rural area and not so much if you live in an urban area. Because, farm workers and stuff need to be vaccinated, and factory workers in this industry need to be vaccinated. But if you work at, Walmart or McDonald's, you're just going to have to settle for, trying not to die even longer. corporations and insurance companies and politicians are going to merge after they've already been vaccinated against it to start bringing up legislation that says, well, obviously, if you haven't been vaccinated by now, maybe there are just certain freedoms and certain things you can't do. Like, continue to work on your job. Yeah, that's right, you can't work here anymore because you haven't been vaccinated yet. And according to the new laws brought up by our state or county or the federal government, yeah, we can't have you employed here anymore because we need those vaccinations to have taken place that you haven't gotten yet, that your job doesn't offer benefits for. You're an Uber driver, yay, but yeah, you didn't earn enough to finally get that vaccination, that health care, and then you gotta try to find exchanges, you gotta try to figure out enrollment periods, you gotta fill out all kinds of paperwork that you hope gets there in time, stand in all kinds of lines. And you're like, I don't have time for that because I need to work. But then you can't work because you don't have the vaccine. And then also, you can't go into certain places. You can't even shop here anymore because you haven't been vaccinated. We're not even accepting people who are wearing masks anymore. Unless they have the I got shot logo, pinned to their shirt or something. And it's just going to be another system of control for the regular guy. Because I'm that kind of cynic. I think of things like that. Maybe I've watched too much sci-fi. I don't know. But I see it coming down the road. And I'm thinking to myself, if that doesn't give you enough pause to go, no, I think we got the leverage we need. Whether it's voting on Pelosi or anything to get a vote on Medicare for all, put people on notice, and make sure it's political suicide for them to vote no on this, I don't know when is. Because like I said, I'm not in the camp that believes that because there's a vaccine, everything's going to work out fine. And we need to find a way. It's not going to be through morals. It's not going to be through ethics. If that were the case, we'd already have that kind of world to begin with, and we wouldn't have to fight for it at all. So, that being said, go out there and fight. Dang it, that's it. Bye.